All right, today we're going to dive into a really big idea. I mean, a huge one. It's something that connects the most powerful supercomputers on the planet to the very rise of human civilization. And honestly, it might completely change how you think about what intelligence even is.
Okay, so our story kicks off way back in the 80s. Sun Microsystems comes out with a slogan, and you have to remember, back then, computers were just boxes, standalone machines. So for them to say that the real power wasn't in the box, but in the connections between them, wow, that was a game changer. And you know what? They were so right.
So here's the leap I want us to take together. Let's pull this idea right out of Silicon Valley and stretch it across, well, all of human history. What if that same principle, that the network is the key, doesn't just explain our gadgets, but explains us, our progress, our intelligence, everything? To really get this, just picture a modern supercomputer. It's not one giant brain, right? It's thousands of tiny processors or nodes all working together. Now, sure, you want each of those nodes to be fast, but what's way more important is how fast they can talk to each other. That's the interconnect speed. I mean, think about it. What good is a genius who can't get any information? It's useless. The real magic, the real power, is in the connection. All right, so let's take that exact same logic, that exact analogy, and just point it right back at ourselves. What if each human brain is basically a single, super powerful node in a much bigger system? And this is where it just clicks into place, right? In a computer, the node is the CPU and memory. For us, the node is our brain. The computers interconnect, the wires connecting everything. Well, for us, that's every conversation, every book, every collaboration. It's our social exchange. And the bottom line is exactly the same. A node is only as good as its connection to the network. And look, this isn't just a fun theory. We have heartbreaking real-world proof of this. We know from cases of extreme social isolation that a human brain, no matter how much potential it has, just doesn't develop properly without interaction. It needs that connection to the network to even begin to reach its potential. I mean, just think about your own life, right? Your entire life is a process of loading your brain with data you get from the network. It starts with your family, then school, then books, media, and now, obviously, the internet. So intelligence isn't some fixed thing locked inside your skull. It's a direct result of how well you're connected to all that information out there. Okay, this all sounds pretty intuitive in our world of smartphones and instant access. But what about, before all that? Let's rewind the clock and try to figure out how we built the very first version of this human network. This really is the key question, isn't it? In a world with no internet, no phones, no nothing, where was the network? What did it even look like? Well, it turns out the answer boils down to two really simple physical things. First, you need a bunch of people crammed together in cities. And second, you need a super efficient way to connect those cities. And for most of history, that meant one thing: water. Think about it. Traveling over land was slow, dangerous, and expensive. But moving stuff and people on rivers and seas, that was fast. It was cheap. It was scalable. And that efficiency is what turned these dense cities into these incredible hubs. They weren't just trading goods, they were trading ideas, skills, and breakthroughs. They became literally humanity's first internet. But it didn't stop there. As these networks got bigger and better, something new started to happen. They started to evolve into an even more powerful form, something we can call a cluster. So, what's a cluster? Basically, it's a super concentrated network inside the bigger network. It's a bunch of specialists, like all the best shipbuilders or all the top artists, living and working side by side, all focused on the same stuff. And inside one of these clusters, man, ideas and new techniques could just fly around at lightning speed. And once you start looking, you see these clusters everywhere in history. The Renaissance in Florence, that was a cluster. The scientific revolution that exploded out of the Royal Society in London, total cluster. These weren't just random bursts of genius. They were the direct result of putting the right people together in a high-bandwidth communication hub. So what threw gasoline on the fire? What took these clusters and turned them into world-changing engines of progress? Well, it was a one-two punch: formal organizations and the printing press. Think about things like guilds or universities. They were so important because they gave the network a memory.
They created a system, a structure, to make sure knowledge wasn't lost, that it could be passed down, built upon, and improved from one generation to the next. It let progress stack up.
And then, the printing press. You really can't overstate this. It was a total revolution. Suddenly, an idea wasn't trapped in one person's head or in a single conversation. It could be copied thousands of times and spread across the entire network of educated people in these cities. It was the original internet, for sure. All right, let's put all these pieces together. Because when we do, we can start to answer one of the biggest, most puzzling questions in all of history, the Great Divergence.
You know the one I'm talking about. Why did some societies just take off? Why did they suddenly leap forward in science, technology, and wealth, while others just didn't? It's a huge debate, but I think our network theory gives us a really powerful way to understand it.
Because when you look at it through the lens of the network, the answer is almost simple. The societies that leaped ahead were the ones that had the best networks, period. They had the dense cities, they had the cheap water transport connecting those cities, and because of that, they were the places where these powerful knowledge clusters could actually form and thrive. And this is the absolute key takeaway. The difference wasn't the people. It wasn't that the nodes in one place were smarter than the nodes somewhere else. No way. The difference was the network. It was the underlying structure that allowed ideas to connect, to combine, and to build on each other.
Which brings us all the way back to the beginning, but with an upgrade. We started with Sun's old slogan, "The network is the computer." But I think the real truth is even more profound. The network isn't just the computer. The network is the intelligence. It's the whole system that lets all of us, all our individual brains, connect up and create something that's so much bigger than any one of us could ever be.
And well, that leaves us with a pretty big question for right now, doesn't it? If human intelligence has always been a property of our network, what on earth happens when we start plugging a powerful, non-human intelligence, like AI, into that very same network? Definitely something to chew on. Thanks for joining this explainer.